Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Inspirations Live, Building the Foundations. Today's subject is one of the greatest foundations and principles of Al-Islam. It is the key to salvation. Often we hear the questions, how can I keep myself on the straight path at a time when people are going astray and losing track? How can I achieve courage and self-confidence? How can I achieve peace with myself and achieve self-actualization? How can I get myself closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and succeed in my life as well? How can I be strong? How can I be creative and proactive? The answers to these questions all follow from this great principle that we will try to highlight this evening, insha'Allah. Reference to history. During the period from 1920 to 1933 in the USA, there was something called the Prohibition, a law enforced in the USA to prevent and to ban the making and the selling of alcohol. It never worked out. How does this relate to our subject? Inshallah, we will find out as we proceed. But let me now welcome our guests. I'll start with Dr. Ashraf. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Sheikh Moutasem, for inviting us. My name is Ashraf Arafa. I'm 26 years old. I work as a physician at Cairo University.
MashaAllah. Are you married, Dr. Ashraf?
No, I'm not married yet.
Okay, MashaAllah. Okay, we'll move to Michael. MashaAllah, the viewers all already know you, but inshallah, introduce yourself for the new ones.
Jazakallah. I'm Michael Smith. I'm 22, and I'm a student at the American University in Cairo, and by way of the University of Michigan.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, excellent. So how long are you staying here?
I'll be here for another 6 months, inshallah.
Inshallah. May Allah make it a pleasant and nice day. Okay, what about you, Fuad?
I'm Fuad Muhammad, 26 years old, and I'm a student at Azhar.
MashaAllah, excellent. So, have you specialized in anything yet?
Not as yet,
inshallah. Okay, may Allah make it easy for you.
We
move now to Walid.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Walid Mustafa. I'm 27 years old, working in the business administration field, inshallah.
MashaAllah. And getting married very soon,
inshallah. Soon, inshallah.
May Allah bless you and your wife and your future wife, make it easy for you. Today's subject is very important. We're talking about, as we promised last week, talk about Al-Islam. We said we will delve into the hadith of Jibreel. We know that Jibreel came to the Prophet ﷺ when he was sitting with the companions. You know something very good about the companions that we should learn? They always wanted to ask the Prophet ﷺ, but they always had a lot of respect, that they were shy to ask the Messenger ﷺ. So they were always happy to see someone from the Bedouins coming from the desert to ask the Prophet, because these people were daring. They could ask really hard, tough questions. So now somebody, he looks like a stranger. A stranger coming from the desert should be dusty, disheveled. It doesn't look really good. But this man looked as if he has just bathed and he has come. His hair was black, his clothes were white, clean and tidy. But none of the people of Medina knew him. This is something that gives us a glimpse at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, how that community was. You know, they knew everyone. Each and everyone was known. They would check on each other, make sure that everyone was okay. So they realized this was a stranger, and it puzzled them that he looked really good, in good shape. So this is a key, by the way, when you teach people, try to capture their attention and arouse their curiosity. Make them think, who's this man? What does he want? He came to the Prophet ﷺ with all humbleness. And he said, "Oh Muhammad, tell me about Al-Islam." Now the Prophet ﷺ answered to him, the meaning of Al-Islam, the way of life, the complete way of life. Okay, we will try to see what this is, but first we have to delve into the word Islam. Do you think that Muslims today, you know, sometimes people fall into the habit of not realizing what they are living in, what they are practicing, what they are believing in. So do you think Muslims really understand what is the meaning of the word Islam? Do you think that, Walid?
I think not most of them, yani. The majority is not understanding the real meaning behind the word of Islam, yani.
Okay. So generally they don't really understand the correct and the exact meaning of the word Islam. Do you agree with that, Michael?
I would say, yes, quite often Muslims will fall into the habit of just doing practices just for the sake of doing practices. It's because what everyone around them does, And alhamdulillah, that's one of the good things about having converted, is that you get the chance to really examine, really learn from scratch,
Yes.
instead of being born into this medium, into this ether that's already there for you.
Yes, yes, that's a good point. What do you think, Fuad?
I don't think that the Muslims of today are really living up to the real Islam, because if they were,
Yes.
then we would have seen results today,
Okay.
which we're not seeing.
Okay, Dr. Ashraf, do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with brother Fouad
Yes.
for his sayings, but I think that most of Muslims are trying to making some changes
Okay.
nowadays.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. You know, if this is our way of life, this is our religion, Islam, it's really worth that we get to know what it is. If we want to live by Islam, we want to be real servants of Allah, we want to be productive and proactive individuals, people who can extend their help and their contributions to humanity in general and to the Muslim nation specifically, we have first to understand what Islam really means. And it's really a very sad fact that there's a great number of Muslims who don't understand the exact meaning of the religion of Islam. They're confused. They know the general meanings of what the word Islam means. By the way, what do you think the word Islam exactly, linguistically, what does it mean, Islam? What do you think, Michael? Have you come across this?
Yeah, I have thought about it from time to time. I would say it has a lot to do with peace, a lot like a lot of other words that come from the same root.
Okay, peace. So peace. What do you think, Fuad? Do you agree with that, peace?
I would say peace after submission, because if one submits himself, he would feel that peace of his heart, and others would feel the peace being around him.
Okay, excellent.
Yes.
That's further explanation. What do you think, Dr. Ashraf?
Yes, I think that they chose the most words in this meaning, the
Yes.
word peace and the word submission.
So we're
Because
going around peace
Yes, and submission to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes.
Waleed.
What do I understand is submitting to what pleases Allah first of all, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So basically this is what Islam is.
Yes.
Submission. Actually the word Islam comes from the root sa, la, ma. 3 letters.
Yes.
Sa, la, ma. Basically salama has 4 basic meanings. It has the meaning submission, has the meaning peace, has the meaning of purity. Purity is there as well.
Yes.
So these are among the most important meanings of the root sa, la, ma, which is submission, peace, purity. These are the most fundamental meanings of this word. The word Islam was explained in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Ibrahim, who is a great example that we will take inshallah, Allah said to him, إِذْ قَالَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ أَسْلِمْ قَالَ أَسْلَمْتُ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Allah said to him, submit. He said, I have submitted myself to the Lord of the universe. Yes. That was Ibrahim. So it's submission. Now, do you know any aspects in our lives? I mean, every day, our daily life, we have certain aspects, certain practices that we have in our daily life that resemble and symbolize submission. Can you recall anything of this? Maybe acts of worship, maybe habits?
Of course, every time we go into sujood, sajda, it's an act of submission.
Excellent. That's the word, you know. Really, sajda is a real symbolization of submitting oneself to Allah. Prostration, you just put yourself before Allah. I submit to you. All power is yours. And I submit to you. This is wonderful. Very, very good point. What else can you think of?
I could think of every aspect of your life could be in submission.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, for example, if you smile, for example, with a person, it's a form of charity, and that is submitting to Allah as well.
Excellent.
So submission could be a very simple act also.
MashaAllah, you're taking us to a different dimension. Notice what I said right at the beginning, that this is one of the greatest principles and foundations of Islam. With a bit of scrutiny, you will realize that submission goes with everything in Islam. Everything in our lives is about submission. This is what the religion of Islam is. But first, let's delve into, try just to personalize ourselves, identify ourselves with submission. Basically, there are wonderful aspects in our lives where we have submission. It started with the sajda. Prostration is a wonderful act of submission. You said every act of the Muslim. That's wonderful. If you want to be specific, imagine the Prophet ﷺ told us a wonderful hadith. Before we go to sleep, there's a dua. That when you, the first piece of it,
اللهم إني أسلمت وجهي أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله اللهم إني أسلمت وجهي
أسلمت
إليك
نفسي إليك.
أسلمت نفسي إليك.
Oh Allah, I have submitted myself to you. You know, the ones who supplicate or make this dua, they will have the best time of sleep, I tell you.
Yeah.
You have submitted yourself to Allah. So, see how the Prophet ﷺ wants us to think of submission once we go to bed and even once we wake up. Because we say,
أسلمت نفسي.
Alhamdulillah alladhi ahyana ba'da ma amatana. Praise be to Allah who has given us life after death. Imagine, it's all this, like you are helpless. It's Allah who gives you. Allah takes from you.
Yes.
When you go to sleep, you say to Allah, I submit myself to you. So this is how important submission is. You know why? Because it is the key to success. Wallahi, submission is a wonderful aspect. If we get to live it, if we get to identify with it and realize it in our lives, it would be completely different. Now let's take some of the examples, especially of the prophets. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon them. I would like to start with Ibrahim, the father of the prophets. His example was really great and wonderful. Because he lived in a polytheistic kind of society, and the people were worshipping idols, worshipping stones and wood. He realized that I could not be that kind of this could not be the life that we should live. This is unbelievable, this kind of thing. So this is the call of fitrah. It's in the heart. Allah has given this to us, this gift that calls us to the truth, fitrah. This is what I say really to our viewers as well, especially the non-Muslims. Listen to the voice of your heart. When this voice calls you and it asks you, what is the meaning of my existence in this world? What am I doing here? Who created me? Who governs this massive world, this massive universe? You know, in this world we're like a drop in an ocean. You know, the scientists, since 70, 80 years, they sent sound waves and lights. And you know the high speed that light really goes according to. They sent that to the universe, and they received the echo of that, or the reflection of that, and there were sound waves and light that they sent that never came back yet. Could you imagine how massive this universe is? We're just like nothing, you know, like insignificant. Who created that? The call of nature always asks us this, so listen to it. Listen to your heart. I know many people find it hard, because when these thoughts come to them, they feel like, wow, they feel the emptiness in their lives. They run away from that by keeping themselves busy with work, keeping themselves busy with drugs, alcohol, women, relations. They can't take that moment to think, stop and think about their lives. So I say, stop and think about your life. Salvation can be in that moment of thinking. So Ibrahim had this moment. So when he saw the star, he said, that's bright really. This should be my Lord, my Creator. But when it disappeared, he said, no. Then he said, well, the moon looks bigger and brighter, so the moon should be my Lord. But then he said, no, when it disappeared, no, can't be. Then the sun. Then he said, if my Lord doesn't guide me, I will be from the losers. So Allah guided him. He submitted himself to the call of fitrah. So Allah gave him guidance. You remember when we asked the questions at the beginning, that some people ask, how can I remain upon guidance? Well, many people are going astray. You know, many people start practicing, then they go astray. They follow some kind of strange kind of methodologies and thinking. How can I preserve myself? Submit to the will of Allah. There is no peace, no happiness except in that submission. As we said, the root implies peace. When you submit to Allah, peace will come to your heart, because you are in peace with the Creator. You see how this universe functions and operates in perfect harmony? The sun goes according to a set course, the moon, the earth, the stars, everything. If you want to feel that peace and that harmony, follow the same rules imposed by the Creator. The sun is a Muslim because it submits. The moon is a Muslim because it submits. Your body is a Muslim. Your heart beats without your knowing about it, without you thinking about it. It follows the rule imposed on it or enforced by the Creator. So it's a Muslim. So if you want to live in harmony, live in peace, think about that. Submission will put you in perfect harmony with this universe. So this is how Islam brings peace. And by having this peace with the Creator, you will have peace with yourself. And this submission to Allah will make you follow the most wonderful code of living in morality, in behavior, in actions, in thoughts, in goals and ambitions. And once you follow that, you will be in peace with everybody on this earth. You will be in peace with every object in this universe, and then you can bring peace to the world. This is the wonderful thing about submission. Another example of the Prophet Ibrahim. And imagine when you get to submission, Allah will support you. His people took him and they threw him into the fire. Why? To get rid of him. But he submitted to Allah. The fire is a Muslim. And it could not harm Ibrahim because it obeyed the laws of Allah, the Most High. So you see, when we submit to Allah, we are not afraid of anything. We're not afraid of anyone because Allah is with us. And everything is a Muslim, follows the rules of Allah. So we will be at peace. We will be confident because we have the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has the power, the all-powerful, who controls the universe. Ibrahim as well, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, strikes a wonderful example. We know that when he left his wife Hajar and Ismail, his son, in the middle of the desert in Mecca, valley where there's no water and no food. Hajar as well strikes a good example. When he left them and he went, she said to him, "Is it a command from Allah?" He said, "Yes." She said, "Allah will never make us go to waste. Allah will take care of us." As well Ibrahim, when he saw in a vision that he sacrifices his son Ismail, what did he do? He said to his son Ismail, he went to sacrifice him, his only son. Ismail, when he listened, when he heard that vision, he said, "Ya abati, if'al ma tu'mar." Do what you are commanded. Perfect submission. And Allah saved him. Allah sent a sacrifice instead of him. So, could you imagine the kind of life that we can live if we achieve that kind of peace? That kind of submission? We have to work on this. If we want the Islamic revival, if we want to tell the world about Islam, if we want the people to realize the reality of this world, of this life, we should think about submission. We should live by that. We should teach that to the people around us. And with this we can achieve it. Now the question that imposes itself, do you think that we can live that? Is it practical? Is it practical, Fuad? Do you think we can live that?
Very practical, very practical. It could be easily implemented once that, as you said, the submission is there.
Yes.
I feel with submission, inshallah, we could achieve anything.
Okay.
For example, the fear would go because we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect us.
MashaAllah.
Because I'm just give you one quick example.
Yes.
That before, I never wore a beard before.
Yes.
And I was always ashamed, that my friends would... But alhamdulillah, after the beard, everything fell in place, People, for example, people fear, can I have a beautiful person to get married to?
Yes.
Alhamdulillah, with a beard, everything went in place for me.
MashaAllah. Okay, Dr. Ashraf, do you think it's difficult in today's world where people, you have to submit to something. It's a balance.
Yes.
If you don't submit to Allah, you'll submit to something else or somebody else. Do you think it's practical? You are a doctor.
Yes.
You mix with different people from different backgrounds. Do you think we can achieve that submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Yes, of course, Sheikh Moutasem, we can do this because when patients came to me in emergency room, I always say to them, you have to trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to submit your own body to Him. So they become reassured by these words, and so they give me every confidence for that.
Okay, let me move. Let's be a bit practical. Do you recall any moment in your life where you had to choose, and it was a hard moment, and you made the hard choice? Do you have a moment? Do you have something, Fuad? Do you recall something?
Yeah, I could recall many occasions. Actually, this is an everyday situation where you have to make choices.
Yes.
But one I could remember particularly was to choose whether to continue my academic career or take the opportunity to study the deen. You know? And alhamdulillah, I've taken the opportunity. And actually, financially, I'm much more better than before. So, people say you have to, I'm not saying that academic is wrong, but I'm saying that Allah has opened many doors for me since I've started studying His deen.
MashaAllah.
And my heart has felt much more at ease because I get to know Allah much more.
So when you make the right choice and you submit to Allah, the world is His. He can give you whatever He wants. So this should be on our minds as we submit. Do you recall anything? During our life.
Yes. It's a daily situation. You got great choices in your life. I got just 3 or 4 hours ago at my shop. The guys came, they want to do some stuff. But it was Allahu Akbar, the adhan, they gave the adhan for the Asr.
Yes.
So khalas, I'm going my way. There are like 6 students.
Yes.
You'll get this money. And they said, man, Allahu Akbar. And Allah is greater than anything. We go now, pray, and then we come back, do the job. And then I went. And when I came back, they're not there. But there was like 20 or 25 persons. That's from submission. But sometimes, if you don't submit to Allah and you take the right choice and go to the prayer at this time, and the other time when you don't have no one, no one's coming to your shop for 2 or 3 days in a row. So because you submitted to Allah first of all, so in this time you will open your Quran, you do anything else, and you submit it easy.
That takes us, to the concept. What does submission require? What does it stand on? Who do you submit to?
Allah.
No.
Why?
Because He's the own creator.
Good. I want to be specific. We submit to Allah. The child submits to his father and his mother, to the parents. When your car breaks, you submit it to the mechanic. Why? We try to break down the word submission so we get to understand it more. Submission means first trust. Trust.
Right.
I come to Dr. Ashraf when I don't feel well because I trust him. He's a doctor, he knows. I don't know about medicine. So I trust him because he knows. But with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we submit to Allah because we trust in Allah. And because we love Allah. We know Allah's mercy. So we submit to Him willfully. Our life is all for Him. And we know that through that submission Allah will give us power. Just one example, great example. The magicians of Fir'aun. When Musa came to Fir'aun, the magicians said to Fir'aun, if we beat or if we overcome Musa, are we going to get a lot of wealth and position and status? He said yes. So these were their ambitions. This was their life, full of lies, deception. When they saw the real sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what was the first thing they did? The symbol of submission, which was prostrated themselves to Allah. They prostrated themselves. They knew that was Islam, submission. So they became Muslims. They submitted. And in 1 second, Fir'aun defied them. They said, اقضِ ما أنت قاض. Do whatever you want to do. They worshipped him just a short while ago. And now they're saying to him, do whatever you want to do, we don't care. Now we worship the Creator of the heavens and the earth. So submission makes you courageous, makes you strong, makes you firm and successful. It will open a lot of potential for you. Inshallah, we will discuss that more as we will welcome our guest and talk more about submission. So now we will have to go to a short break. So say to our viewers, stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. We're still talking about submission, this wonderful aspect of our religion and of our life. You know what happens when we do not submit? And unfortunately in our lives, if we look at our state personally and the state of the Muslims, we see that many people, they don't choose submission. They try to choose what they think is the easy way out. If they are in financial hardship, they go to the bank to take an interest-based loan. Many people think they are doing good to themselves, but actually they are not. Now let's see what happens when we do not submit. We know our parents, our father and mother, Adam and Eve, Adam and Hawa. They submitted to the whispers of shaitan in paradise. They submitted to that and they went and ate from that tree. What happened? Once you stop submitting to Allah, you will submit to something else. Once you submit to something else, you will stop submitting to Allah and you will lose. They will expelled from paradise, our home. It's our home. We were expelled from there because we failed to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah we will elaborate more, but let me first welcome our guest. Welcome our guest Ismail. Okay, salam, tfaddal Ismail. I hope you're doing well. How are you? You're right? Tfaddal. Okay, how are you Ismail?
Alhamdulillah.
How is everything? MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay. MashaAllah, it's really wonderful actually to have you here. But before we go on with that, we would like to watch that feature that the guys MashaAllah has made and spent last week working on it. So we will watch it inshallah together.
Ismail Howe, a 35-year-old British-born Jamaican Christian, accepted Islam at the early age of 19. Since becoming a Muslim, he was determined to learn the Arabic language to help strengthen his Islam and to understand its book, the Holy Quran.
What inspired me to learn Arabic language is so that I can find the true meaning of the Quran. So I decided to make the move with my family to Egypt so I can increase my iman, increase my knowledge of the religion of Islam.
To accomplish this goal, he moved to Egypt 6 years ago with his family. Life in a new land with many cultural differences didn't stop him from learning this long life dream.
So after having this urge to learn the Quran, I decided to come to Egypt to learn the Arabic language. And this was a big move for me, leaving my mother, my father, my brothers and sisters. But to me, understanding the Quran was a bigger achievement, a great achievement. So alhamdulillah, now I am living in Egypt. I've been here now for 6 years. It wasn't an easy move, it's not an easy 6 years, but alhamdulillah I've been able to stay for that time. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور الذي خلق 7 سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت.
Today Ismail is a student as well as the general manager of a local learning center nearby his home in Cairo. He plays a vital role in helping new foreign students to settle in and in achieving their dreams to learn the Arabic language.
I hope inshallah Allah allows us to stay in this country and to help many more students come to learn Arabic so they too can get the benefits of the Arabic language.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. Very interesting, mashallah, Ismail, moving from London to Cairo, leaving work and all that, starting a new profession. Well, it's a big challenge, really, to make that kind of shift in your life. How did you decide when did you decide to make that first?
It was after being a Muslim for some period of time and not understanding the Quran as it was revealed. I've been a Muslim now for, it was 10 years or so. And, when you're in Ramadan and the people are crying beside you in the Taraweeh prayer, and you're reading the Quran, it's a translation. You can't understand what the meaning of the Quran is. Your Lord sent it down in Arabic, and I'm reading it in English. So I needed to get the real meaning of the Quran.
MashaAllah. So that was, for you, a challenge?
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
Actually leaving the country was not the issue. I had to understand the kalam of Allah.
MashaAllah.
I had to make the decision, I had to go.
Okay.
So, actually leaving the country is not the issue. After that is settling and dealing with the fitness of the hijrah. This is the issue now.
Okay, MashaAllah. Okay, let's go forward in time. Now, how is your Arabic now?
I still need to study.
MashaAllah.
You know, I still need to study, but alhamdulillah.
But I could see the recitation there was very good, MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. May Allah increase you in this.
Ameen.
I hope that you made a sacrifice that Allah will give you immense reward for that.
Ameen. I hope so.
Okay, we want to get to our subject. During your life now, coming from Jahiliyyah into Islam, building a Muslim family, making all these changes, major changes in your life. You know, people like habits, people like what they're used to. They're afraid of change. Because change means a new situation, new challenges, new hardships. So, did that take of you, that require a bit of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
It all comes down to knowing your Lord. It's understanding Allah is the one who created you. He will, you know, He's given you life and He will give you death. And He will take you to account. So yes, we know we have to submit.
Yes.
Okay? But the issue is your desires come into play. Are you going to make your Lord first or your desires? This is the thing. Every single day you have tests.
So priorities.
Priorities.
Okay.
And understanding that, yes, one day you will die and you'll be taken to account.
Okay,
this is the main factor. You'll be taken to account one day. What are you going to do? Submit or you're going to refuse?
Okay, let me get more specific. You know, in our lives, before Islam, you must have had habits.
Yeah.
And habit have the capture and grip on human beings.
Yes.
How did you deal with all this?
I mean, when you become Muslim, you don't become an angel over one day. It takes time. And as time, you know, as you increase your knowledge, you drop your bad habits. For example, you know, in Jahiliyyah, we used to drink alcohol and smoke and stuff like this. So I became Muslim and I still had these bad habits at the beginning. But then I read the hadith about the person who comes to the prayer and his mind is, you know, it's not with him, whatever. His prayer is not accepted for 40 days. And you still have to pray. So when I read this hadith, I said, okay, that's it, enough.
MashaAllah.
I want my prayer to be accepted. So alhamdulillah, I dropped these habits one by one, alhamdulillah.
So that was a moment of submission to the will of Allah subhanahu wa
Yes,
ta'ala.
most definitely.
MashaAllah. I will get back to the issue of alcohol because in my introduction I mentioned something and I'm sure many people thought that, what's the connection? Why did he mention this about prohibition? What does it have to do with our subject? But I think it's getting clear now while we talked about this. What another challenge that needed from you a big amount of submission to Allah, coming from Jahiliyyah to Islam? What was that?
Obviously in Islam there are the 5 pillars. The next issue is the prayer, for example. It's organizing your life so that, you know, these prayers are at set times and you have to stop whatever you're doing. Okay? So this may mean, okay, you're in a workplace, work environment, and you say to your manager, okay, I have to go and pray now. Okay, this is like, okay, you're going to pray, you're going to stop what you're doing. It takes some courage or it takes some iman. But you have to weigh up, do you fear the creation or do you fear Allah the most? So getting used to facing the people and saying, listen, in every situation, my Lord comes first.
MashaAllah.
Okay, so it's the prayer, it's the fasting, family habits which you're used to, like your family, you know, if it's a lady, it's your cousin, you know, they would normally greet you, give you a hug and kiss you, say, oh, listen, I can't do this anymore, I'm Muslim now. And dealing with those issues on a day-to-day basis. But after a while, when the family sees the change in you, alhamdulillah, you know, it's not a problem now.
Okay, Ismail, tell us about some moment in your life where you had to make the decision, especially by submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and after that, you could see the good consequences. Do you recall anything? Anything specific?
Nothing comes to mind at the moment. Generally, I can say coming to Egypt, okay, and, you know, bringing my whole family here has definitely given me some peace, enabled my family to grow up in a Muslim country and learn Arabic. Alhamdulillah, their Arabic is better than mine. You know, hopefully that will be in my scales. But yeah, moving my family to here, alhamdulillah, has been a definite a good move for me, alhamdulillah.
Okay, mashallah. Okay, let me move to our guest as well. What do you recall any moment in your life where you had to make the decision and you chose to surrender to Allah? Any moment in your life, Dr. Ashraf, do you recall anything?
Yes, while I was practicing medicine, I used to practice الرقية الشرعية in treating people.
Okay.
It is not accustomed here in Egypt, or not a tradition of medical practice. So I have to submit this to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I have to trust Him, because it's one of the instructions Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam taught his blessed companions and taught us. He told us that تركت فيكم ما إن تمسكتم به لن تضلوا بعدي أبدا كتاب الله وسنتي. These are my own instructions. So I used to use these instructions in treating people, beside my prescriptions of drugs.
MashaAllah.
So I submitted this to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Very good, excellent. Yes. Okay, submission. Is it a negative or positive word? If you go to the dictionary, what do you think you're going to find?
Negative, isn't it?
Negative. It's submission. You submit. You lose control. You lose control. But in Islam, submission is a positive. The one who submits to Allah becomes active, actually proactive, not passive. When you submit to the creation, you lose control. And if you go to the dictionary, the Oxford, or if you go to Webster's, okay, you will see that it means to admit your defeat in front of someone else, and you agree to obey their own laws, their own terms. With Islam, imagine, submit to Allah means what? You stand up and you pray the 5 daily prayers. You submit to Allah, you leave what is evil and you do what is good. You build an honorable life based on values, based on noble principles. So this is why submission in Islam is a wonderful aspect. It's something really, really wonderful. So now I want to come to the issue of alcohol. Why did I mention prohibition in America? Anyone knows about that? Exactly what happened?
Yeah, I just read it, maybe. That they were trying to prohibit it, and then it was after 30 years, maybe? It was all... They couldn't have kept it from the people.
Michael, you come from the USA. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, I do. I know a little bit.
Way before you were born.
Yes, it was kind of... it ended up kind of badly, because people ended up finding other ways to make alcohol themselves, and there started to be organized crime around it, because they desired these things so much.
You know, in the USA, they tried to prevent or ban the making and the selling of alcohol in an attempt to stop it. Stop this habit. Because there were so many fights, so many criminals in prison. They tried to do this. And until today, they couldn't. And in the USA, statistics show, these are the government statistics, they show that in average, in the last 3 years, 17,000 people get killed because of accidents caused by drunk drivers. It kills of Americans more than any other war. But they can't stop it. 1400 years ago, someone announced, a companion of the Prophet ﷺ announced that alcohol is intoxicant, it's prohibited. You know what happened? People had barrels. They drank it like we drink water. They lived on alcohol and wine. The one had barrels, they got rid of them in the street. Those who had alcohol in their mouth, they spat it out straight away. Full submission. You see how Muslim makes better citizens? Islam creates great individuals who think about what is good for themselves and for the others. Submission in Islam is something active, something positive. It's a constructive power. It's something that this is what brings peace. Imagine for Muslims, this is why we are saying to the Muslims, please understand what Islam is. Live by Islam. The problem with the world, they don't see what Islam is. They hear about Islam. They hear you talking about Muhammad ﷺ, this wonderful character, about his great companions. They hear you talking about these great generations, the early generations that we always talk about, and we should emulate and follow their example. But they don't see that. We have to do it. We have to do it. This is why we're talking about building the foundation, submission. You know, the 5 daily prayers, when we pray before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're leaving the world behind you're submitting to your Creator. Submit. Oh Allah, I've come to you, you have control on everything. I leave the world, the concerns, the cares, the worries that I have behind me. I stand before you, oh Allah, in submission. I know you will take care of everything. I just do my part, and I know that you will do your part. Don't worry about provision. Allah will do it for you. We will elaborate more on this because it's a very important aspect of submission. But first, we have to see how some of the youth responded to a question that we asked them. It happens quite often that people go to the West and they say, we went there, we saw Islam, but without Muslims. We saw the manners of Islam. When they come back here, they say, we see Muslim individuals, but we don't see Islam in their behavior. We ask them, is this true? And what do you think? So we had these interviews, we watched them together, then inshallah, we'll come back to comment on them. So stay with us.
You cannot do anything without thinking of God. Everything, every step you have to make, the first thing that comes to your mind has to be God. What will He think about it? Will He accept it or not? And when you interact with people, you don't. The first thing has to be, is God. He sees us in every step. So, are you ready to be seen? Is it true? You should not leave yourself except to God. Don't fear people, don't fear anything. The only one you should fear is God. He's the master of everything.
Actually, I think that Muslims, they do prayers, they fast in Ramadan and do all what they should do for God, but they don't actually have some good manners. This is the main problem. We are against morality. Not against morality, but the problem is that you are not moral like what the religion told you.
I believe that there's a problem in modern Islam where people are more concerned with prohibitions and rules rather than learning how to relate to their akhwat and Ummat al-Islam and learning to understand one another, being kind to one another, and the characteristics that the Prophet ﷺ would have encouraged in us.
I do think it's true. I think there's organization and unity and cohesiveness that's more prominent outside of Islamic countries when Islam is the actual religion that preaches such concepts. And again, because Islam preaches these concepts, I think we have to be more knowledge. We have to become true Muslims in the sense that we know what our religion preaches and what it tries to tell us to do.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wonderful answers. You know why? Because they all seem to be proactive. They talk about the solution. We asked them the question that I just related, and they always think about the solution. I really feel proud about the Muslim youth when they have these kinds of thoughts. What do you think about the same question? Let's suppose we ask you the same question. What would you say, Fuad?
I would say the situation for the Muslims, that we see that Islam out of a Muslim country and Muslims in the Muslim country without Islam, the solution to this is very simple. Just the awareness needs to be there,
Okay, so this is what we're trying to do. Building the foundations, try to really understand Islam and live by it. We have to, because wallah, it's wonderful aspects that are out there, but we have just to take the effort to get to them.
The effort, yeah.
Yeah, the effort to get to them. One of the greatest stories that I would like to relate, that happened during the Battle of Al-Ahzab. When the Muslims were in Medina, the Arab tribes gathered all together to try to annihilate them, get rid of them completely. So they all gathered, and the Muslims dug a trench around Al-Medina. And Allah describes it as your hearts have jumped up to your throats out of fear. People have come from all directions, surrounded you. So that was a time of great fear. You know what the hypocrites who did not have real submission to Allah, you know what they said? They said, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rates in Surah Al-Ahzab, He says, they said, مَا وَعَدَنَا اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ إِلَّا غُرُورًا. They said, Allah and His Prophet has promised us in vain. That wasn't true. But the believers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relates about them that they said, وَلَمَّا رَأَى الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الْأَحْزَابَ قَالُوا هَذَا مَا وَعَدَنَا اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. You see, the ones who submitted to Allah, when they saw these great armies coming and gathering to destroy them, they saw death in front of them. They said, this is what Allah and His Prophet promised us. So we talked about courage, about self-realization, self-confidence, confidence, trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they saw all these armies. This is what Allah and His Messenger promised us, victory. Well, you're seeing death in front of you. But they know that the promise of Allah. So when you submit to Allah, you become not completely different person, the same person, but equipped and qualified with love, with integrity, with courage, with wonderful and great aspects. So, inshallah, let me introduce the challenge, okay, and see what you think about it, okay? The challenge will be today, for this week, and please, I started acting upon mine. Think about that, how you can achieve this, utilize it. It's, as I said, the life of the Muslim. Once you submit to Allah and you let Allah do His part, take care of your provision, take care of this world. And all what you do, look into yourself, see what potential you have, what contributions you have to improve yourself, to improve humanity, to improve this world, and to bring guidance to the people. Okay? We're going to make our challenge today that we submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by breaking from one of the bad habits that we have. Some people don't wake up for Fajr. Make this your challenge every day. Before you go to sleep, I'm going to wake up for Fajr. I'm determined to do this in submission to Allah. Think about this. Someone who, for example, does something wrong, he doesn't lower his gaze and restrain his gaze. I'm going to do this for the sake of Allah. Every time you attempt to do it, stop doing it. Everyone should have a challenge. Are you ready to take this challenge for this week?
Inshallah.
Okay?
Inshallah.
We'll see next week what happened. You don't have to say what the challenge is, but tell us about your achievement and your progress. And equally, we say to our viewers, think about a habit that has captured you, that has enslaved you. Free yourself from it and experience real happiness, real freedom by submitting to the Creator of the heavens and the earth. Inshallah, we will try to put all of these challenges together to build the wonderful Islamic character. I really apologize to our viewers. We could not take your calls for tonight because the subject was very intense, that there were a lot of things to say. I really thank our guests today. May Allah reward you for making the effort to come and join us. That was really wonderful. And from now on, inshallah, we will be determined to submit to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and understand what Islam is and talk to the people about our experience. Let's share that experience with other people so that they come to realize how beautiful Al-Islam is. I really thank all of you, and I turn to all viewers and I say, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all the gifts, and we are determined to submit to Him. I thank you for watching. I leave you in peace, and until we meet next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.